You can see with this file that I've gone ahead and added the text we're going to use on the large layout of this web page. I've also made other small changes, such as organizing my layers with additional groups and increasing the size of my buttons, which are made of rounded rectangles. To start styling some text, first I'm going to use my type tool, which I have selected here in my sidebar, and highlight a chunk of text. Maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit here so we can see. So I'm using Command plus on a Mac or Control plus on a Windows machine. Scroll over here to this little section. I'm going to pick this Welcome to Bordeaux text. So with my text tool selected, if I scroll over top of it, you can see my cursor change, and I'm going to just click and drag and highlight that chunk of text. Now there's two places where you can format your text, and this first area is probably best for doing things like heading and titles up here at the top of your page. So let's go over some of these options. The first option is your typeface. You can click on this downward arrow and select a typeface from this list, or you can simply just start typing in the font if you know exactly what you want. And I know that I want to use Domain Bold. And you can see because I've selected Domain Bold, I've got bold in my font family as well. The next section is your font size. There's three different ways that you can increase or decrease your font size. The first one is by using the Scrubby slider. If you hold your mouse or cursor over top of the T here, you can click and drag left or right and increase or decrease the size of this text. You won't see any changes happen until you let go. You can manually input your own value, or you can click on the downward arrow to get the drop down menu and select from any one of these arbitrary values. I know for a fact that I want 32 points. Next, you can either choose to set this left aligned, centered, or right aligned. And this little dark box right here is actually the color that you can select. So with this text selected, I'm going to click and this opens up the color picker. I'm going to just set this to pure black. Click OK. And once your text is completely styled the way that you want, just click on the check mark to commit that change, and there you go. Next, I'm going to select some of the body copy in this section of content and take a look at the second area I can use to format text, which is the character style panel. I can open up this panel by clicking on the panel icon here in my option bar, or I can fly it open because we previously set it in this dock where we customized our workspace. The character panel gives you more options when it comes to setting type. To save time, I'm only going to show you what option you have in this panel. I think a typography discussion is lengthy and outside the scope of this course. So your first option again is your font family or typeface. I'm going to leave it, actually I'm going to select this section of text and I'm going to change this to PT Serif, actually that's what I want, and leave it set to regular. Now my font size, again, I want to change much of the same options that you saw up here in the top bar. Scrubby slider to change the size of the font size by clicking and scrubbing left to right. You can manually click inside of here and enter in your own value, or you can click from a bunch of arbitrary numbers set in this drop down menu. I know that I want 14 point for my font size. Next is your line height. Again, you can scrub left to right with the Scrubby slider, select from a number of options already set for you, or type in your own value. And I know my own value is going to be 26 points. Now, if you want to adjust the space between any particular characters, what you can do is click and just make sure your cursor is between those two characters and adjust the kerning. And the kerning here, just like all of the other options, Scrubby slider, enter in your own value, or drop down menu, and the higher the value, let me go ahead and pick something like 100. You can see that the space between those two letters, let me do something a little bit more radical, there we go, so the space between the U and the I is a little bit higher. If you wish to change the tracking or the space between all of the characters, highlight the text that you want to change, and you can change that right here with the tracking value. So you can see as I scrub this up to the right, my value of 180, how much space there is between each of the letters within that piece of text that I've selected. A couple of options that I would deter you from using are in any way scaling your text, both vertically or horizontally. Every time you do this, I think a designer somewhere starts to cry. You can change the color. I'm going to click on the color swatch here, and again, just click and drag this down to black in my color picker. Click OK. A couple other options that I think that you shouldn't use are this faux bold and this faux italic. If the typeface doesn't have a bold or an italic built into it, like you can see here, I would stay away from using it. It basically just takes the outline of the text and makes it larger, or takes the outline of the font and slants it for an italic. Some other options here are all caps, small caps, underline, strike through, things like that. Turn your ligatures on. Coming up in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can use style sheets to quickly set sections of text without having to visit this character panel over and over again.